BlessingWhite's done a lot of research into employee engagement. I wondered if you could just define for me what an engaged employee looks like.
Our definition of an engaged employee, and there's many definitions, is that they do two things. They give a lot to the business. So they deliver contribution, they deliver performance on a consistent, regular basis, very, very clearly. But they also get a lot from the business, and they get a lot of job satisfaction. They get a lot of sense of fulfillment. They get a lot of sense of career development. And it's the marriage of those two. So contribution to the business and satisfaction from the business is our definition of engaged employees.
And by the same token, what does a detached employee look like?
A disengaged employee can have many different characteristics, really. They can either be the people without any contribution to the business or without any satisfaction, but that's not what we see all the time. There are different grades of that. So you can get people who are very happy with their role, very happy with what the company is giving them. They're satisfied, but they're not contributing. Now, that's a cause of problem for the business, because you've got a group of people there who are just thinking they're doing a great job and loving it, but they're not contributing. Equally worrying, but in a different way, is the other extreme where people are working flat out to deliver what the business wants, particularly in these difficult times. They're working hard, they're pedaling hard to keep the business afloat, but they're going home at night and saying, what the hell am I doing in this place? This is giving me nothing. It's not the place I joined, it's not giving me either the career satisfaction or, bluntly, some of the rewards I joined for. We call them crash and burners. So you can begin to see what might happen to those. So very different characteristics, but broadly they all have their own sense of disengagement from the business.
With recession potentially looming, is it really important? Is it a priority when people are just grateful to have jobs?
Yeah, very good question. One we're often asked. I think the answer is probably the same as it was in the recessions that I worked in 1992 and back in 1987. My very first day at work, I think, was the 1980 recession. So I've got a bit of experience about it. And I think the answers are broadly the same the whole time. They are that you have fewer employees to do more work. And as a result, you've got to rely disproportionately more on those fewer employees to do more work. So it might not just be more work, it might not just be taking the work of the people who've disappeared. More importantly, and I think particularly in the recession that we're going to have, which seems to be looming, is we're going to ask people to do different things. So you're looking for voluntary discretionary effort, it's often called. You're looking for flexibility, you're looking for innovation, and these are all things that come from engaged employees. They don't come from disengaged employees.
How does this change the role of the manager or leader? What is it that they have to do?
You mustn't forget that leaders or managers are also employees too. So they are often sharing the same feelings of disengagement or engagement as the people who they lead. So first thing I think is to recognize that your managers and leaders also have these feelings of worry and crisis as much as anybody else. And so don't forget that. Look after yourself. Look after your senior team. If you're a boss of a business with a core team around you, now is the time to spend more time with that core team. I'm convinced of that. So, what they need to do in turn is communicate and engage their staff in the good old basics of communicating how you're doing. Telling people about the challenges in the market. We're all grown up, we're all sensible, we all can see what's happening, but you walk into some companies and you believe that there's a sort of parallel universe going on. Tell people what's happening, keep communicating with them, and then individually give them feedback about how they're doing in adjusting to this.
Do you think we're culturally reticent in giving feedback?
I think we probably are. Some of the statistics I haven't got to hand would suggest that the English are less willing to sit down with their employees and tell them the good and the bad. It's interesting that, because one of the characteristics that comes out in our research about getting people to a point of high satisfaction, which is a key part of engagement, is helping them use their talents more, giving them the opportunity to do, giving them the opportunity to do more of what they do well. And bosses have a really strong part to play in that. So there seems to be some resistance to sitting down and telling people good news, interestingly, as much as more understandable, telling them not so good news. But all our research shows people want to know, how am I doing? And bosses do shy away from that. Managers are good when they get round to doing it. We've just got some research that's coming out in November 2008, which is called the coaching conundrum. And we use the word conundrum because managers all say they want to do it. They like doing it. They can see the impact of coaching, but they don't get round to doing it. And I think in the UK, it's about 61% of employees say they never get any coaching from their managers. So on one hand, there's a lot of managers saying, I want to do it, employees wanting it, but it ain't happening. And we asked why it's not happening, and two reasons. One is people say, I haven't got the time. So there seems to be a perception that managing is something that I do in the day, and then there's this thing called coaching I add on at 5:05 every Tuesday afternoon. And part of the misunderstanding, I think, is that they should see coaching as something you do throughout your managerial day. It's one of the levers you pull or one of the buttons you push, one of the skills you have. So they say they haven't got the time is one barrier. The second barrier is they say they don't have all the answers. And that's another interesting one because coaching, good coaching, is not giving answers, it's actually giving questions or asking questions. So there's a perception challenge, I think, that coaching is giving all the answers. And that's absolutely what it's not. Across the whole of society, trust is breaking down. Trust is breaking down in institutions, trust is breaking down in politicians, trust is breaking down in leaders of businesses. The shining light that's left is actually trust is being maintained in my manager. So if it's bad news, difficult news, or you're trying to get people to do things in a more innovative or more spirited way, then that's not going to come from a dictate on top. So just be aware, exactly, adjust. Don't stop at all, but adjust, put more emphasis on the manager because they are going to be critical in these times ahead.
Are we asking too much of our managers?
Well, that's the job, isn't it, really? Managers are there to do what's required, and this is just a new part of what's required, I think, this flexing of managerial style. So are they up to it? Our research shows that they are. It shows that they're willing to do it. It shows that they have the skills when they understand it needs to be done. I think the challenge is, again in our latest coaching research, shows that most organizations don't reward coaching and they don't put a strong organizational emphasis on coaching. And the two might go hand in hand, obviously. So I think they're up to it. I think they're skilled. I just don't think they're being given the push or the emphasis to do the things that are needed. And we need to move very quickly, I think, as business leaders, to carry on engaging through coaching.